everyone, Draco Magnius here for another episode of Let's Play Omen Exitio Plague. In the last episode, we arrived in America, where we were trying to get our bearings and started a new life again away from the cult. But gosh darn it, it just turns out we can't fucking escape them. At all. Ever. Because the guy that we were going to meet turned out to be part of the fucking cult. We got away from him, and now we have no idea where the fuck we're going, so let's see where exactly we're going, what we're doing, if there's any way we can stop this fucking cult so we can move on with our lives. Traveling to the unknown. Lulled by the rhythmic rocking of the train, you find yourself suddenly immersed in the darkness. As the train enters a tunnel, it takes a while for your eyes to adjust to the dim light. But when they do, you start to distinguish details in the rock formations inside the tunnel. Rather than a man-made tunnel, it looks like some kind of naturally formed cave. There are hundreds of stalactites and stalagmites all around. As your vision improves even more, you notice a strange gleam on the surface of the rock, as if it were covered with something slimy. Then you can see the same viscous substance forming a large rope-like drops at the tip of the stalactites. All of a sudden you realize that the walls of the cave are moving toward you. The movement becomes less subtle, and the rocks seem to be closing in on your carriage. As the train is ripped to shreds and smashed, glass flies in all directions. You finally understand that you are not being crushed by stalactites, but by giant teeth. You awaken with a violent start and let out a barely suppressed scream. You had fallen asleep with your head against the window. You regain your composure and feel the eyes of all the other passengers on the carriage fixed upon you. Thankfully, however, no one dares to speak to you. You have no idea how long you've been asleep, how long the journey will take, or even where you're going. You had taken the first train out of New York Station, leaving the city only a couple hours shy of dawn. Let's look for clues. You pick up the notebook and flick through it again. There are more strange symbols and strings of text written in code. It is scant in useful information, however, except a long series of calculations. What these calculations refer to is a mystery, until you see a drawing of a comet and maps of a certain location in North America on an adjacent page. This must be the same comet mentioned by your informant. The same comet prophesied by the drawings in the cave. You shiver involuntarily. You scrutinize the maps, hoping to find further clues, but they're almost completely without annotation. You keep flipping back and forwards through the notebook, looking for a pattern. Eventually you do in fact find something. Two symbols that are completely different. Two symbols that are completely different to the others and are repeated many times. They seem to refer to two cities, Boston and Plymouth. You pull out the piece of paper, which you found in the darkness of Martine's laboratory. It appears to be a sketch, perhaps a stylized lighthouse, done as hurriedly as possible. It could still turn out to be a clue of some kind. The train ends its journey. Nope, that was a period. The train ends its journey. You cannot help but smile when you see that you have arrived in a town called Providence. When you look at the map, you see where it is. You have another surprise. You're very close to New Bedford. Apparently, that was supposed to be an attempt at an escape, has only brought you next to one of the cult's main centers of power. It seems to you now that all the choices you have made so far have been inexorably leading to this destination. Those are both in Maryland, right? I feel like everything happens there in Lovecraftian works. It's sort of like Lovecraft's Maine. If you're not familiar, Maine is Stephen King's place where all shit goes down. But I digress. You are clutching Martine's notebook tightly. When you alight from the train, you do not even bother leaving the station and go straight to the ticket office. Apparently, you have very few options left. You need only decide between Boston and Plymouth. Boston or Plymouth? Plymouth or Boston? Two choices. Both are important, but where will we go? You know what? I'm gonna leave this to Lady Fate. I'm gonna flip a coin using the app on the Google phone. Well, it's not really an app, it's more of I used Google and look for a coin flip, and it gives me that on my phone. Anyway, heads Boston, tails Plymouth. We got tails, we're going to Plymouth. Plymouth it is! Plymouth, the city that gave life to the American Empire since the day the Pilgrims first landed on its shores. The saltiness of the air overpowers you. The moment you leave the station, nope, that was bad sentence flow. The saltiness of the air overpowers you the moment you leave the station. The sky is leadened gray, not exactly ideal for free and positive thoughts. One of the parts of the sky free from the clouds you see a faint, luminescent trail that puts a crack in the heavens. A comet. Oh fuck, shit is starting already. Really quick. Okay, I'm just at 33 experience. I was just curious how much experience I had. You look around. You do not have many options or clues to help you track down the cult. The city center, explore the lighthouse. Obviously, I have a picture of the lighthouse, so the lighthouse seems like the best step to go. You are following a hunch. Perhaps the note, which you found in Martine's laboratory, pointed not only to Plymouth, but to something more specific. The cult might even be connected to the lighthouse, or something else nearby. You decide that it's probably worthwhile to have a look in any case. You look out towards the sea and straight away see it. Silhouetted in the distance, in reality, is a double lighthouse, or two lighthouses right next to each other. You head down towards the beach, which leads all the way to the imposing edifice on the horizon. As you're walking, you come across two sailors and catch snippets of their conversation. One of them is talking about a comet passing over the skies of America that will be visible for some days, even in daylight. You would like to tell them that you've already seen it, and that it's considered a bad omen. But you carry on walking, lulled by the gentle rustle of the surf, your eyes fixed on the lighthouse. As you're walking, an unnerving thought creeps into your mind. Walking to the lighthouse like this, across the beach, seems a little naive. If the cult really is at the lighthouse or somewhere nearby, they'll see you from a mile off. Cursing your carelessness, you walk away from the sea towards the relative cover of the rocks. You cannot have them see you coming. Yet your caution alone does not explain your hurry to get away from the water. You realize that you also had a simultaneous creeping fear of the water, rising inside you with every wave. And you know that it is not just the memory of your recent shipwreck creating this anxiety, but rather your perception of a presence, some kind of threat, coming from the direction of the waves. Each small crashing iteration intones black, menacing curses. Looking toward the lighthouse, you spy a man. You are quite sure that he is one of them, even if you are too far away to see the inevitable tattoo on the wrist. From this distance, one might think he was a walker out for a stroll, enjoying the view and the bracing sea air. You, however, won't be fooled so easily. You stop to watch him from afar, and before long he looks around and takes an irregular detour and disappears between some large rocks. A hidden entrance! That must be another of their temples. You might have just found the hiding place of the cult. You easily find the opening to the entrance by following the footsteps of the man. It is a very small opening between the rocks leading to a passage. You hear muffled rhythmic sounds coming from deep inside. Now it is beyond all doubt the cult, the comet, and the ritual going on now. Everything is finally converging inside that small opening. Rocky Jaws. Slowly you approach the opening in the rocks. The smell of the sea is strong, but there's something else, a stench, which increases and overcomes the initial salty dampness. The rocks of the wall around are covered with a slimy substance, clearly not a type of algae. The smell is acrid and sickeningly sweet, and so disgusting as to be almost unbearable. The tunnel is very tight, and you immediately realize that it will be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to enter without being seen. You're also convinced that this must be the only entrance. It is certainly logical, meaning that the place is very easy to defend. A few meters further on it becomes immediately dark. The faint glow is visible at the far end, however. You silently and cautiously continue on along the passageway. The cave gets narrower in some places, and you must squeeze against the greasy walls. You can see very little in the almost darkness, and you can hear large drips in the cave against the distant echo of the chanting and drumming. But it also sounds so strange due to the warped acoustics. As you are progressing, you first begin to feel lightheaded, and the first symptoms of a fever, causing you to stop and lean against the wall for a moment. If the idea did not seem immediately absurd to you, you might have thought that you were suffering from the first symptoms of the disease, as if it had been waiting dormant, hidden inside you, only to be awakened by this awful place. You resume walking, trying to reject this foolish notion. Yeah, sentient virus would be really fucking creepy. Suddenly, the tunnel widens into a cave, but you're still unable to make out any details about your surroundings. I'ma watch. Are you fucking kidding me right now? I failed? My observation is through the fucking roof and I failed? You were unable to really see much of what is happening inside, so you creep closer to get a better view. Tunnel opens to a room carved out of the rock. You've just enough time to notice symbols carved into the walls when you're struck violently on the head, and you lose consciousness. Well, fuck me sideways. Signed, a friend. As you are emerging from the deepest of the seas, you fade back into reality, and your eyelids feel the compulsion to open. It is a lengthy and awkward process, involving many painful shudders along the length of your body, especially in the places where you were struck. It takes you a while to remember who you are and where you are. You can feel the effects of a fever. Your skin is burning, your head is spinning, your throat is swollen, your hearing is impaired as if muffled. Nonetheless, you hear chanting in the distance. After a time, you regain your senses, enough to look about and observe your surroundings. You're in a small cell hewn from rock, lying still fully dressed, on a coarse thin mattress, on a wooden plank attached to the wall. We knew you were coming. The time of the comet is upon us. The time hostilic. Let's go with hostilic. The time of hostilic is upon us. It was inconceivable that you could be absent. You would attempt to answer, but your mouth has gone numb. Now the walls feel dry, as if coated with a thin layer of sand. You can only just make out the figure standing in the doorway. She's wearing only the dark kilt and mask of the cult. Lie a while and try to get your strength back. Get up. You force your shivering body to sit up, but are immediately racked with convulsions. You manage to turn your head just in time to vomit on the floor. With nausea and dizziness shaking your whole body, you just need to lie straight back down. There's nothing you can do now anyway. The ritual is about to take place. You belong to Hostilic now. He is burning inside you. Can you feel the fever? It is his spirit growing inside you. You have felt his power more and more as you've journeyed towards this temple, where he is entombed. At last his chains will be broken. Finally our cult's effort will come to fruition. Hostilic, Lord of Legions, will finally have dominion over the world, and we shall rule with him! The woman begins chanting in a primitive, harsh, incomprehensible language. A language you've never heard before, composed of guttural sounds, akin to grunting or wild growls. There is only one word which you can recognize as being repeated over and over. Hostilic. Your fever appears to be getting worse, or could it be something else? What is this strange feeling going on inside you? You're unable to reason and unable to think. Yet despite the constant harrowing chanting, your eyelids close and you fall asleep. A wave of swirling, unfamiliar colors hits your retinas. They seem at the limit, if not beyond, the range of colors of the ordinary world. Some seem to have spatial depth, others smell of opaque yellow. Though you would normally have no idea what opaque yellow smells like. Carmine red squeezes your intestines, or maybe your intestines are that color? Just looking at them gives you vertigo, and makes you nauseated. Yet you cannot look away, because they are all around you. You are in a place, in a physical location, but you are struggling to find even the vaguest point of reference. There is a regular geometry to your surroundings, but it is a reality with other rules that you can only define as alien in some way. All the shapes you can see are distorted and unfathomable. Even as you take a step, you are unable to determine in which direction you have moved. You had believed that you were moving upward, but when you hazard a second step, you find yourself on a downward incline. You are hit by a wave of panic. Jake. You hear your name being called from all directions, at once from the outside, but also seemingly on the inside. It is called only once, and by a single voice, but it sounds to you as if it shouted and whispered 10, 100, or even 1,000 times. I can't do that without editing magic, so we're just gonna move on. Something moves closer to you. You cannot understand its aspect, or even whether it's a man or a creature. Nor can you make out exactly where it is. Is it in front of you, or at your side? You stay as still as possible, and for a moment, rather than closer, the strange shadow seems to be moving away from you. Its outline has shifted, and it seems to transform with every step. It appears to be above you, then below, then at your side. It repeats your name, Jake. Open your eyes, Jake. Look at me. You reopen your eyes, not even realizing you had them closed. For a few moments, you are dazzled and nauseated by the brilliant colors and shapes, but your eyes adjust, and finally, you can see the figure that called your name approach. His features are humanoid, but his face has a soft, almost fluid texture, and changes from one moment to the next. Although his skin is dark, its appearance shifts constantly from one face to another. Do you recognize me, Jake? No. You recognize the messenger, then the coach driver, now the servant in livery, now the librarian, now Abbas, the fisherman, and finally, Betsarai, the interpreter. Of course, you recognize all the faces that you have seen from Zanzibar onward. All have been unimportant people who have helped you in some small way, or pushed in a certain direction. But between one human face and the next, there are flashes of light. In these flashes, you catch momentary glimpses of inhuman, savage creatures, undefinable horrors, which alternate with the human faces. You are the informant. Oh shit, it's Narlethotep, we're fucked! Yes, I was your friend, your informant. I am Narlethotep, messenger of the god Azathoth. For those of you unfamiliar with the works of H.P. Lovecraft that were just along for the ride, allow me to explain to some degree. So Azathoth is the god that created all of existence. Azathoth is currently sleeping, and all of existence is his dream. We are all a figment of Azathoth's imagination, and the second the fucker wakes up, we're all dead. Now, he's constantly lulled to sleep by a bunch of aliens that float around him playing a cacophony of music, which makes him oblivious to all things around him, making him titled the Blind Idiot God. Alternatively, Narlethotep is his direct son. Still also part of the dream, but his actual son. Narlethotep loves fucking with humanity. He's like the closest thing to a devil, Satan allegory that the Lovecraftian world has. He doesn't fuck with humanity for any malice. He just enjoys doing it. He likes watching humans build amazing structures and then knocking them down like a bully at the beach kicking a sandcastle. Or a man pouring water into an anthill and laughing while the ants struggle and die. That's Narlethotep, who was our friend. So, you'll understand if I am now worried about being on the wrong side here. As his voice is speaking these words, his appearance mutates yet again, taking on even more unspeakable features. First, he becomes a creature whose head is one huge red tentacle. Then he becomes an Egyptian pharaoh. Thanks to you and to the comet, Hastalik will be released tonight from his ancient prison in the abyss. If summoned with the comet ritual, the passage of the comet, and this right celestial configuration will provide the energy necessary for the buried god to break free from his prison. Tonight, Hastalik will give free rein to his hunger, spreading like the thousands of plagues and diseases that make up his being. Narlethotep's face and aspect change continually. Innumerable men and monsters appear before you in turns, and his rattling voice penetrates your body, like something with a definite physical form. You close your eyes. His servants shall be his slaves, but they will also hold the reins of the world for him. The future for the human race will be death and suffering. You, Jake, are in fact the key to releasing Hastalik. Yet, by the same token, you could also lock him up forever. Is this really happening? Or are these merely delusions caused by the fever? Is this the real life, or is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Anyway, have you really become the turning point in a clash between alien beings, divine entities from a different plane of existence, fighting for control of the planet? Or are these mere feverish delusions, the fruit of paranoia and delirium caused by the disease and all the things you've been through? I mean, if we reject it at this point and it turns out he's right, we're just gonna fuck over the entirety of the human race. The way I've always seen it, in my humble opinion, If the world has gone and taken on absolute insane dream logic, then you might as well fucking embrace it. If you go insane and try to force logic upon it, all you're gonna do is drive yourself crazy. But if you go, okay, the world is now crazy, time to adapt. Sure, there are eldritch horrors that exist beyond comprehension that can destroy the world. How do we go about making it not go that way? Then you can survive. Do not give in to trying to make the illogical logical. You'll only end up driving yourself to lunacy or death. That's my opinion anyway, so I'm going to accept his reality. You accept the existence of Nyarlathotep in this bizarre new reality. Also, now that I think about it, Nyarlathotep does enjoy humanity, so sharing us with a god that would just fill the planet with disease and despair probably wouldn't work too well for him. He likes watching us build so he can knock it down. Oh no, I failed an achievement? Well, fuck you. I don't need the achievement. Dialogue of Madness. You haven't completely understood the true nature of Nyarlathotep. Yeah, no, I'm fine with not getting that achievement. Fuck you. I'm going with my gut here and accepting the insanity of our new reality. Why me? Although you have hundreds of questions, this is both the most urgent and the first which you are able to verbalize. You are a doctor. You understand the concept of a healthy carrier. You were infected with the original strain, derived from Hastalik himself. Yet, you are here, neither dead nor healed. Can you feel it there inside you, pervading your entire being? Damn it! I don't know why it clicked that, but okay, here's the thing. Let's go back. I'll start from the top. You are a doctor. You understand the concept of a healthy carrier. You were infected with the original strain, derived from Hastalik himself. Yet you are here, neither dead nor healed. Can you feel it there inside you, pervading your entire being? It has been there the whole time, and now that Hastalik is near, it has reawakened. A healthy carrier, entirely unaware of the fact this whole time yourself would have been the perfect subject for your research on the disease. Although it must of course have been a different strain, for the simple fact that you contracted the disease not from a sick man, and not via inoculation by the syringe of the cult. If you were not caught up in this absurd and distorted reality yourself, you would no doubt find the tragic irony of it all somewhat amusing. I find it kind of amusing, honestly. Hastalik is the disease itself, yet his essence is never confined. His body is like a swarm. Every particle of the disease is part of him. He is the disease, and all its emanations, but Hastalik is many other diseases too. He is... what did that doctor call it? A virus. Nyarlathotep constantly shifts in appearance and position. For some seconds, he is on your right, as one of the black men you met in Delft. Then, he is 3 steps ahead of you, a stern-looking coach driver. Since you are already in communication with Hastalik, you are the perfect candidate for the climax of the rite, taking place in a number of hours, in conjunction with the passing comet. As such, however, you are also the only element that could ruin it. His final words come from behind you, and so you turn your head, but when you do, there's nothing there. You do not even bother looking around, because you have realized that in this world, vision is no longer the primary sense. Nyarlathotep is gone, leaving you to this strange and distorted reality. Imago Dei. But with that, I think we're going to end this episode here. In the next episode, well, we're going to have to try and figure out how exactly we're going to be dealing with this cult. And Hostilic. See you guys then.